In today's video, I share with you the Anime Central Convention in Chicago, Illinois. But before we get into today's video, just want to share with you what the GGGGs are for this month. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this month of May of 2024, we have a pledge for the Hero Stand Display Plinth Kickstarter. We have the all-in digital pledge for the Starship 6 Soul Survivor Kickstarter, as well as an all-in digital and physical pledge where the Erebus is going to be printed for you. We have a pledge for the Daiko Quest City 8 Kickstarter that's upcoming. And we have $100 going towards a crowdfunding campaign, which will either be the District 12 Kickstarter or the Stormcrow City Kickstarter. Go ahead and use the link below to go to my Patreon page where you can find out more information and get in on the opportunity to be chosen by Bob for one of these gratitude gifts. So I apologize, I've been missing some of my weekly videos because I've been working hard at creating our costumes for Anime Central, or called ACEN for short. And I didn't even have a lot to create this year as we upgraded our Jinx and Vi costumes, my daughter and I, with these Mandalorian helmets. So we had a helmeted version of that costume, which was super popular. A bunch of people wanted to take our pictures and it was awesome. And then the other days, my daughter and I switched up and had two other costumes, but those were also ones from previous years as well. So nothing super new this year, but the addition of these Mandalorian helmets was really fun. You know, I'm pretty good at painting up armies for either conventions or tournaments or things like that, but for whatever reason, when it comes to cosplay, I always wait until the last minute. And so sure enough, I intended to have a video come out last week before I left, but I just ran out of time and last minute was putting together these helmets, putting in these visors before we left for Chicago. But ACEN is a huge anime convention with over 30,000 participants. So a massive number of people were there at the convention center in Rosemont, Illinois, which is right by Chicago O'Hare Airport. We didn't stay at the Hyatt this year, which is connected to the convention center, but actually stayed off-site a little further away, which was a lot cheaper. In the past, we did stay at the Hyatt for Anime Midwest, which is more around the July 4th holiday. But this year we wanted to try out ACEN, and my daughter got out of classes on Friday, even though it's going to be finals week this week. She's got her work done ahead of time so that we could go up. My son also went up, although he hung out with his Chicago friends most of the time, so it was primarily my daughter and I walking around together, taking pictures and looking at the awesome costumes that people had there. Probably my favorite costume that I did see was the T60 armor from Fallout, since I recently watched the Amazon Prime series of Fallout, which I thought was excellent. And I'm thinking about possibly 3D printing the T60 model for myself so that my daughter can get a vault outfit so that she can go as Lucy and I can go as one of the Brotherhood. But we'll see. I mean, that's a lot of printing. We have a lot of ideas about what to do for next year. But this year, we're not going to a lot of conventions. ACEN really is a primary one. We decided not to attend some of the local ones here in St. Louis, but decided to just save a little bit of money and focus in on the one up in Chicago. Because it is so large, the vendor hall is massive. There were so many vendors there. There's so many cute items that my daughter just adored and loved. And so a large part of the fun that we had was that she loves walking around, looking at all the vendors, picking out really cute stuff for herself. So that was no different this year. And the most part, I think the funnest is just talking and interacting with other cosplayers who just are invested in the craft. They love the anime or video games that they're representing, and just getting some tips and tricks from them with how they made some of their costumes. I will say I'm surprised that there aren't more 3D printed props, as my daughter still continues to be one of the only ones that has Pow Pow, this chain gun. We did see a couple of Jinxes with the rocket launcher, but she was the only one with Pow Pow that we saw this time around. Also super fun was seeing some Helldivers 2 costumes, which was super cool. Again, that motivated me to consider making some Helldivers costumes for my daughter and I for a future convention, but who knows? I mean, we walk away wanting to cosplay a ton of different costumes in the future, but again, it comes down to how much time it takes and how much PLA to print out all of the materials. Now, concerning these Mandalorian helmets, I did actually print out these ones in PETG just because heat inside of a car will melt PLA. So I did print this out in PETG, but I ended up not using it because the print was a little bit rough and definitely needs sanding. There's actually a whole level that goofed up for some reason on this helmet. Even though PETG is more sturdy as a material, I ended up not having time to do any kind of sanding or finish work. So I ended up just printing these out in PLA and then painting them up. That was actually ended up being faster than needing to do finish work on these other helmets. So possibly with a future build, I might go ahead and sand these when I have time. But honestly, it was just as easy just to print these out on my 3D printer. But typically the people who put the most time and energy into their costumes are the ones getting stopped for photos and pictures and conversations. So I always want to do my best, especially for my daughter because she loves cosplaying. It's a hobby that we do together along with my son. He does a lot himself, and this is a way that our family bonds together. Are you planning on cosplaying this year? If so, which convention are you planning on going to and what costumes are you currently working on? Would love to hear some of your tips and tricks as you go to some of these conventions. And especially with these summer ones, the weather is starting to get really hot, and so we were actually boiling and sweating a lot wearing these helmets, but you know, we grunted through it. So go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. This is a shorter video because I got to get back on track and produce a whole slew of videos that I put on pause in order to finish out some of these projects. Again, use the link below to go to my Patreon page where you can get in on the GGGGs for this month. Otherwise, happy printing, happy cosplaying. We'll see you next time.